Hello ladies and gentlemen, Daniel and Susanna, a Bible story of faith and justice, the beautiful and righteous Susanna. In the city of Babylon, during the time of Jewish exile, there lived a woman named Susanna, the beautiful and virtuous wife of Joachim, a wealthy and honorable man. Joachim's house was often a gathering place for the Jewish community, and he was respected for his wisdom and integrity. Susanna was known for her piety and devotion to God. She was raised by righteous parents who taught her to walk in the ways of the Lord. However, her beauty caught the attention of two wicked elders who were appointed as judges over Israel. The wicked plot of the elders. These two elders, though respected by the people, were corrupt and filled with lust for Susanna. They watched her daily as she walked in her husband's garden, and eventually, their evil desires led them to plot against her. One afternoon, as Susanna went into the garden to bathe, she sent away her maids, unaware that the two elders were hiding nearby. As soon as she was alone, they rushed toward her, revealing their wicked intentions. "Lie with us," they demanded. "If you refuse, we will testify against you, saying that we saw you with a young man." Susanna was horrified. She knew that if she submitted, she would sin against God. Yet if she refused, she would be falsely accused and condemned. Placing her trust in the Lord, she cried out loudly for help. The false accusation. Hearing her cries, the household servants ran to her, but the elders had already executed their wicked scheme. They quickly gathered the people and falsely testified. "We found Susanna committing adultery with a young man. When we tried to stop them, the man fled, but we caught Susanna." Because these elders were respected judges, the people believed their lies, and Susanna was condemned to death. In tears, she lifted her eyes to heaven, trusting that God would deliver her. Daniel's divine wisdom. As Susanna was being led to her execution, God stirred the heart of a young prophet named Daniel. He could not bear to see an innocent woman suffer and boldly stood up, declaring before the crowd, "Are you such fools, O children of Israel? Have you condemned an innocent woman without proper examination? Return to the court, for these men have lied." The people were astonished by Daniel's courage and wisdom. They agreed to reopen the case, allowing Daniel to question the elders separately. Exposing the liars. Daniel called the first elder and asked, "Under which tree did you see Susanna with the young man?" The elder answered, "Under a mastic tree." Then Daniel called the second elder and asked the same question. The second elder replied, "Under an oak tree." The contradiction in their testimonies revealed their deceit. The people realized that Susanna was innocent and that the two elders had falsely accused her out of wicked desire. According to the law of Moses, false witnesses were to receive the punishment they intended for their victim. Justice is served. The wicked elders were sentenced to death, and Susanna's innocence was restored. The people rejoiced, and Daniel's wisdom became known throughout the land. God had delivered his faithful servant because she trusted in him. Moral lessons from the story. God is just. He protects the innocent and punishes the wicked in his time. Faith over fear. Susanna chose righteousness over sin, even in the face of death. God raises the righteous. Daniel, though young, was used by God to bring justice. Lies are short-lived. The truth will always come to light. This powerful story reminds us that God sees everything, and he will always stand with those who remain faithful to him. Person with praying hands sparkles. God protects the innocent. The story of Daniel and Susanna is a powerful testament to how God watches over the innocent and delivers justice in his perfect timing. Susanna was a righteous and God-fearing woman, but despite her purity and devotion, she was falsely accused of adultery by two corrupt elders. She found herself in an impossible situation: either submit to their sinful demands or face false accusations that could lead to her death. Yet, instead of giving in to fear, Susanna put her trust in God, knowing that he alone is the ultimate judge of truth and justice. One of the most profound lessons from this story is that God never abandons those who remain faithful to him. Even when everything seemed hopeless for Susanna, when the false witnesses had convinced the people, and the sentence of death had been passed, God was already preparing her deliverance. He raised up Daniel, a young prophet filled with divine wisdom, to expose the lies of the wicked elders. Through Daniel's keen judgment, the elders' testimonies were proven false, and Susanna was saved from an unjust execution. This event illustrates a recurring theme in Scripture: God is the defender of the innocent and the just. In Psalm 37 verse 28, we read, "For the Lord loves justice and will not forsake his saints." They are preserved forever, but the descendants of the wicked will be cut off. Throughout the Bible, we see how God intervenes for the righteous in times of trial. Joseph was falsely accused and imprisoned, yet God elevated him to a position of great power in Egypt. Daniel himself was thrown into the lion's den, but God shut the mouths of the lions to protect him. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were cast into a fiery furnace for refusing to bow to an idol, yet God walked with them and kept them unharmed.
These stories reaffirm that while the innocent may suffer momentarily, God's justice will ultimately prevail. The enemy may plot against the righteous, but God sees all things and acts in due time. For those who place their trust in Him, He is a shield, a refuge, and a deliverer. Susanna's faith reminds us that even in the darkest moments, God is our protector, and He will fight for those who stand in truth and righteousness. Truth will always prevail. The story of Daniel and Susanna is a profound example of how truth cannot be hidden forever. Despite the false accusations made against Susanna by two corrupt elders, God's justice ultimately prevailed, and the lies were exposed. This narrative teaches us that while deceit and injustice may seem powerful for a time, truth will always come to light. For God is a God of truth. Deuteronomy 32:4. When the elders falsely accused Susanna, their lies appeared convincing because of their respected positions as judges. The people believed them without question, and an innocent woman was condemned to death. However, God sees everything, and He stirred the heart of young Daniel to seek justice through divine wisdom. Daniel separated the two elders and questioned them individually, revealing contradictions in their statements. Their deceit was uncovered, proving Susanna's innocence, and justice was restored. This event highlights an essential truth. Lies are temporary, but truth is eternal. In Proverbs 12:19, we read, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Throughout history, people have tried to suppress the truth for their own gain. However, no matter how strong the deception seems, truth always finds a way to emerge. Jesus Himself said in Luke 8:17, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." We see many examples of this in the Bible. Joseph's brothers tried to cover up their crime, but in the end, the truth was revealed, and God's plan was fulfilled. Haman plotted against Mordecai, but his wicked schemes were exposed, leading to his downfall. Even in the life of Jesus, though He was falsely accused and crucified, the truth of His resurrection changed the world forever. This lesson is relevant today. In a world where misinformation and deceit often seem to thrive, it is easy to lose faith in justice. However, the story of Susanna reminds us that God is the ultimate judge, and no lie can stand against His truth. Those who walk in truth may face trials, but they will ultimately be vindicated. As followers of Christ, we must hold fast to truth, trust in God's justice, and remember that, in the end, truth will always prevail.
Susanna's courage in the face of false accusation. Susanna found herself in an impossible situation when two corrupt elders threatened her. If she gave in to their sinful desires, she would have disobeyed God. If she refused, she risked being falsely accused and condemned to death. Susanna knew that the truth was on her side, yet she also understood that speaking the truth did not guarantee immediate justice in a world ruled by wicked men. Despite her fear, she chose righteousness over compromise. She did not yield to sin or plead for mercy from her accusers. Instead, she cried out to God, placing her trust in Him alone. This act of courage ultimately led to her vindication. Though she was initially sentenced to death, her faith inspired the intervention of Daniel, whom God used to expose the truth. Daniel's boldness in defending the innocent. At the time of Susanna's trial, Daniel was still a young man, yet he did not let his youth or inexperience keep him silent. He recognized an injustice and fearlessly spoke out against it, even when it meant challenging the elders, men who held authority over Israel. ****. The triumph of faith, truth, and justice. The story of Daniel and Susanna is a timeless testament to the power of faith, truth, and divine justice. It reminds us that even in a world where deception and corruption seem to prevail, God is always in control. Susanna's unwavering faith and courage in the face of false accusations show that those who stand firm in righteousness will never be abandoned by God. Though she was wrongly condemned, her trust in God led to her ultimate vindication. Daniel's boldness in seeking truth demonstrates that God raises up the righteous to defend justice. His wisdom, even as a young man, proved that no matter one's age or status, standing for what is right will always bring victory. Through him, God exposed the wickedness of the elders, proving that lies and deceit cannot stand against divine truth. This story serves as an encouragement for all who face trials and injustice. It teaches us to remain steadfast in faith, to be courageous in defending righteousness, and to trust that God's justice will always prevail. No matter how dark the situation may seem, God sees all, hears all, and in His perfect time, He delivers His faithful ones. Truth will always triumph, and those who walk in integrity will be victorious. Person with praying hands sparkles.